pretty crazy. Just Laurel, get extra twin drive. Let's just sack more. Just sack more. So 9 triggers. 10? How many triggers? Heal? PG? No PG! Oh my. That's crazy! Hey yo, how's it going everyone? Entropy here today with another video following up on Dai Kaiser, Dayusha, the good guys. Let's check up on the baddies of the Dimension Police, and that is Zeals. Now, Zeals aren't new to the game necessarily, but they got some amazing support. Honestly, before this kind of set, they were pretty limping, they weren't really viable, but now, I honestly think they are a fair contender to Dai Kaiser and Dayusha. So let's take a quick look into how Zeal works. I think there are a lot of great support pieces, whether that's grade 1, grade 2, or even break ride support. It's pretty amazing, and I'm really surprised how much, a few cards here and there has actually made the deck so much better than it used to. So we're still going to be playing the core Zeal ride chain. Grade 0, if you ride the grade 1, check top 7 for the grade 2 or grade 3, add it to your hand. If not, call this out. Pretty fine, pretty fine. Grade 1. When the grade 2 rides on top of it, you can minus 5k to one of your opponent's units. If it's a rear guard, less than 0, retire it. Grade 2 does the same thing when you ride the grade 3 on top of it, minus 5k, retire it. And the grade 3 says, once per turn, countermass 2 to limit break 4. Once per turn, countermass 2 to have all of your opponent's units get minus 1k for each of your units. So up to minus 6k because you could have 6 units on your board, including your Vanguard. Retire all rear guards with less than 0 power or less. I'm not going to repeat that. Vanguard, on hit, Persona Blast, which means discard a copy of itself. Have one of your opponent's units get minus 5. And if you have the grade 2, of course, with the ride chain, if you have the previous one, get plus 1k. The Persona Blast is useful to either remove your opponent's kind of damage plus 5 or like damage bonus actually, or help you just eliminate extra units. You will know that the minus 6k won't necessarily eliminate or like remove a lot of cards on board. A lot of grade 1s are generally 7k stat line, grade 2s are 9k, grade 3s are generally 11k. Minus 6k won't do much, but the extra 5k will probably kill anything below 11k, assuming you have a full board. And that could be helpful, getting rid of some key pieces. Generally speaking, when you're going into the grade 2, you're going to be sniping the starter. The starters in this game are really, really valuable. It's the only one piece that you guarantee yourself into every single game, as long as you ride grade 1. So that's just how it is. There's a lot of starters you can snipe right now. Even if it's just White Knight Fenrir, which is really popular in Chaos Breaker Dragon, they need that one draw, and just getting rid of that is good enough. But there are circumstances when you don't want to just eliminate the starter. There's a lot of options in this build other than the ride chain, and let's just go straight into it. For PGs, it's pretty straightforward. There's no reason not to play this. Because we're playing the break ride, you do want to be able to go down to 4 or 5. So the old PG, not as great. New PG is better. For Heat Ray Monster Gigabolt, now this card is amazing. On place Soul Blast 1 to have one of your opponent's units minus 3. There is a 6k that says on place minus 2. I think Gigabolt is just a better card. You don't really use it so much in this build, except for maybe if you want the 11k power or something. But minus 3k is just great. It means that when you ride up, you could effectively have a minus 8k pressure and eliminate anything that's less than 8k. And we play one Commander Laurel. So Commander Laurel's skill is when your Vanguard attack hits, rest 4 of your rear guards to send your Vanguard. This card is honestly pretty bad, but in Zeal, it's much more valuable. And I'll explain why later. Next, we play for Assault Monster Gunrock. This is the 8k on place minus 2. Synergize with this, that's minus 5. Synergize with your Vanguard ride chain, that's minus 10. Of course, you can mix and match them depending on your opponent's board, but it's just really solid. This is the big one. This is the big one. Fusion Monster Bugreed. Now, Bugreed is amazing. Vanguard Rearguard, when this unit attack hits a unit with 6k or less power, draw a card. Again, as I've said in all my videos, particularly the DP ones, DP is notoriously bad at generating card advantage. Bugreed solves that. On hit, draw 1, doesn't cost counterblast. 6k or less is especially easy. If you're riding up, well, Bugreed is rearguard, right? If you just ride up, well, if you target your opponent's Vanguard to get minus 5k, or opponent's front row to get minus 5k, seems good to me. Just an on hit, draw 1, right? Use your Gigabolts early, on hit, draw 1. It's just so good. And Bugreed is the reason why this deck in particular, you have so much higher odds of winning if you go first than if you go second, right? Because if you go first, your opponent's Vanguard or like front row like stat line, it's generally going to be equal or less than or equal to yours. While if you're going second, you're kind of like, you have an uphill battle. You need your boosters and everything, right? So Bugreed, really good card, especially good when you're going first. And that's generally how Zeal operates, because you're reducing your opponent's power. If you are just higher in terms of base stat line, if you just have more options, it's just better, right? Just bullying more. And lastly, we play one operator girl, Mika. Mika's Vanguard Vanguard on hit draw, counterblast 2, draw 1. I tried playing 2, I tried playing 3. I think 2 was fine, 1 is also great. Counterblast 2 is quite hefty. You already have Bugreed for the draw, so you have 5 grade 2s that help you essentially draw your cards. Of course, Mika works by itself, but is more counterblast expensive. So test it out. If you find that you're not really reliably using your Bugreed, which means you're probably playing it wrong, still, you know, maybe give Mika an extra try. If you don't like this, then fair enough. But you know, with more of these on place reduction, the higher odds you can pull off the Bugreed and just plus, which is pretty huge. And also just retire because their power is less than 0. Next, we play 4 original Saber Zeros. This is the Break Ride. Vanguard, limit break 4, when rode upon your Vanguard gets +10, and one of your opponent's units gets -8. And retire rearguards with power of less than 0. In addition, if your Vanguard's an alien, call an alien from your deck. Vanguard, when boosted, it gets +3 until end of battle. So this is a 14k beater with a booster. All your units except for your PGs are 7k, so it'll be a 21k column, which is nice. It's numbers. If your Vanguard's an alien, call an alien from your deck. Zeal is an alien, right? All of your grade 2 except Mika is an alien, and all of your grade 1s except the PGs are aliens. Now, that includes Commander Laurel. So, even though you're playing it at 1, you can still fetch it out if you need it. Will you be using this a lot? No. But because you have 5 units that actually help you actively draw cards, and a Break Ride that actually helps you plus, you know, it's much more feasible than in a Daikaiser Dayusha build. We also have, you know, just searching for Gigabolts help you actually -3k, so on Break Ride you're -11. You could just call out something like Gunrock as well. Or if you're missing cards, you can go for Bugreed, or you know, just draw a card. You're pretty much guaranteed to be able to hit and draw because you have -8, right? So again, most units at most right now, rearguard 11k, -8's 3. That's 6k at last time I checked. We also play one Super Dimension Robo Daikaiser. It's just splashable. It doesn't say you need an alien or a Dimension Robo to actually use it. So even if you just, you know, anything onto Daikaiser, you can still use its Saki skill and maybe go for broke. So that's still solid. But of course we're playing for Super Dimension Robo Dayusha. It's still a decent option. None of the grade 1s and grade 2 actually support Dayusha. Primarily we're using it because in the hand you can remove this card to actually get something that's not a grade 3. So it's like 75% chance of getting a grade 1 booster, or 25% chance of getting a grade 2, which is solid, instead of that grade 3 10k beater. But most importantly, you have 5 break rides that all grant you +10 when you break ride. So going Dayusha on break ride is actually viable. Knowing that your opponent doesn't have PG just means that you have a 20k beater to face with 2 crit. And that's really solid as well. So overall, be careful. Don't use Dayusha too early unless you really need the units. You can always actually use it as an option for late game extra crit, you know, punch to your opponent's face. That's basically the list. Some other cards that we can consider really quickly, I guess. This, I guess it's okay, 9k booster, but not really, not that interesting. Stealth Damagers used to be played, but they're not aliens, so it doesn't really help. Psychic Gray is still decent. I think if you really don't like the Laurel and you're just not a big fan of it, play that Psychic Gray. But I definitely do think that one Laurel is fine as a tech option. Always search for it. You don't need it, but you can use it. Grade 2s, we used to be playing the Cosmic Mothership. There's no way to Superior Break Ride here. There's no reason to actually need to go to LB4 right now, since your main ride target is going to be the 0. So kind of skip that. That's basically it. Nothing much really. You might think that reverse Dayusha might fit in the theme, but it requires locking 2-dimension robos, which is a shame. If only, right? If only. So that's basically it. And with that said, let's go straight into a game and see how this deck works out in practice. Alright, so honestly, I feel like Zeal is really underrated. For this set of support, all you need is some double rares, like 4 double rares, some rares here and there, and you're good to go as long as you have the Zeals. I don't know if I'm thankful or not, but I got spooked by like 8 or 9 Zeals all the way back in like set 7. And so I guess, you know, I got to play Zeal, I got to play the current version, and honestly this hand's pretty solid. I don't want the grade 3 though. I'd much rather just, you know, have a trigger in the deck, especially since the Ride Chain grade 1 does search for it possibly. So I don't know. Playing against Morgan Row, definitely a snipe option. If we get to see the grade 2, we're definitely gonna kill that. We've seen how good Morgan Row is in the Blau video, so we still don't know how to deal with that. Just kill it, squat it. Again, Dayusha, there's no reason to have to use it right now. We don't need the unit, especially since we don't have a grade 3 ride target. I guess worst comes to worst, we'll ride it, and it's possible to use it with Counterblast 4, but yeah. Luckily, we did get the grade 2. Let's just ride the grade 2. Pretty straightforward. No reason. It's gonna go get rid of the Morgan Row. It's pretty brain dead. But in some matchups, you do want to consider removing power on your opponent's Vanguard, so your Bagreed can actually hit. Luckily, we do have the Gigabolts, which actually help us do that. And I always like to prioritize Bagreed to hit first, especially if you're attacking the Vanguard, because that way you can guarantee that it hits. You don't need to, you know, hope that your opponent hits a trigger. You don't need to hope that you hit a trigger. But of course, if you do hit one, that's great. It's great. And that's 2 PGs in the drop zone. I mean, in the damage zone. That's pretty crazy. Yep. Turn on the animations. I forgot last video, so I have to double check with that. Blau. 12k. Claydol again. Second Claydol. Okay. So I guess we drew into the 0, so let's just go 0. SP, by the way, SP. What do we do next? Don't really want to overcommit. Maybe just the Bagreed is fine. Again, the Break Ride into Dayusha is still a viable option, and I'd rather save that than get rid of the only grade 3 in my hand right now. Zeal. Heal PG, that's not good, that's not good. Come on. No, not committing. Yeah, once they lose the Morgan Row, they can't really generate heal. That's annoying. That's annoying. It's not fun. You're supposed to draw them. That's a PG. So one at the bottom, one in the damage. We have one copy of the Dayusha anyway, so we can use it. Unfortunately, we drew into the 6k, which is the worst in this build, really. But I guess we need the intercept. Let's actually use Laurel. Get the extra drive check. I think that would be good. Laurel, the bad thing is that you're restanding without drawing the actual, like, you're not twin driving the cards to your hand, which like other restanders would do, like Spectral Duke, for example, or the End. But I guess it still does give you extra drive checks, which is solid. I guess. If your deck can actually draw cards and freely plop 4 into the board, which Zeal is actually the more valuable option to use Commander Laurel, especially with Original Saver's tech ability to just tech a Laurel. It's great. Okay, kills the Bagreed. Come on, are you gonna give me 4? Okay. Heal? Nope. Okay. So do we go for Dayusha or do we go for Zeal? It is a Zeal video, so we have to go Zeal, right? And it's the safer play. It is the safer play. It is a safer play. So with the break ride, you get to -8. Let's just minus the opponent Vanguard, and we're just gonna go face. Bugri is great. Draw a card. Who knew that was good? Who knew? Don't need the Dayusha anymore, so let's get rid of that. And I think we can play the Gigabolt. -3 to the Vanguard. Oh, and one thing I didn't mention is that rearguard power, when less than 0, they get retired, but Vanguard power, they can go negative, right? So like in the TCG, when it's less than 0, they wouldn't get retired, but here they would actually go, like, still go negative, and that's really good because that means with break ride power, there's you know, the extra attack is guaranteed to hit. Here, I think it wouldn't matter if we don't have the lore, but heal is really good. Heal is really good, and draw, okay. It's pretty crazy. Just Laurel, get extra twin drive. Let's just sack more. Just sack more. So 9 triggers. 10? How many triggers? Heal? PG? No PG! Oh my. That's crazy. It's crazy. And that was quick. Well, I mean, our opponent did damage check 2 PGs in a row at the beginning, so that's kind of sacky. And we did draw a lot, but you can see how you know, insane the deck can be. With the right chain, you can basically snipe any starter in the game. With Bugreed, you can actually draw and actually, you know, fetch out Laurel and actually get extra drive checks, which works out if you do hit the triggers and sack a lot. Dayusha is still a decent break ride target, especially since, you know, it doesn't require any specific name. You do lose out on the +1 on 0 with the alien fetch, but still pretty solid. You get the crit condition fulfilled. Dayusha can also fetch for units, that is also useful. Didn't really use it this game, but it's still an option. 6k booster is still better than nothing, than a 10k beater most times. And yeah, that's basically it. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you all soon again. Bye.